Dear students, subscribers, and the viewers, welcome to the IAS Mentor. This would be our lecture number 52 in the series Indian Polity. In the last lecture, I was just started the executive part. After we have completed the philosophical areas, right till the basic structure of the constitution, starting from the historical background. So now we are moving into another important part, that is the executive part. And once we are done with the executive, we'll go to the legislature. And once we are done with the legislature, we'll go to what is called as the judiciary. In this way, we will gradually build our conceptual understanding, and then we'll proceed further, and then we'll try to comprehensively cover the entire subject Indian polity. And that's the foremost objective of this particular series, as I've stated number of times. And this series is extremely useful not only to the students preparing for UPSC but also for other competitive examination. That's the way that I'm trying to design this particular course or this particular series. Now in the last class I've started what is called as the executive, and in the executive we have seen that there are two types of executives. One is the union executive as well as the state executive. And in the union executive we will be understanding these constitutional functionaries: the president, the vice president, the council of ministers, and the attorney general. So these are the major classification of the executives at the union level. And once we are done with all those things, then we'll go to the state executives. But we are still in the process of union executives. In the union executives, the first executive or the head of all the executive is what is the President of India. And that is exactly what we are doing in the last class. We are trying to understand the constitutional position of the President of India. So we'll try to continue in that particular direction. So in the last class, the last lecture, we have clearly understood that if you look into the constitutional position of the President of India, though the President is the head of the Union Executive, the President is not a real executive, he is only a nominal executive. But that doesn't mean that the President has no discretionary powers. That doesn't mean that the President is merely a rubber stamp. The President does exercise discretionary powers. Some of them are constitutional and many of them are situational discretions. So if at all a question comes, can we consider the President to be a mere rubber stamp? No, the President is not a mere rubber stamp, although he is a nominal executive, but he does exercise what is called as a lot of discretionary powers, usually in the form of both constitutional as well as situational discretions. And we have seen examples for that also. And again, how the president exercises these things again depends upon the personality of the president. Not every president has exercised their discretionary powers. Some of the presidents have exercised their discretionary powers. So that is also very important. But if you look into the constitution envisages the president to be a nominal executive, but at the same time, he has to exercise his discretionary powers whenever it is required. Okay, so that's the basic understanding you should have in your mind. All right, so with that, we'll move to the first important understanding with regard to the president as to what is the qualification for someone to become the president of India. And we know that the Constitution of India says that India is a republic. If you read the preamble reads, "We the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic." And the understanding of the word republic means always an elected head of the state. When I say elected head of the state, that either a direct election or an indirect election, the head of the state should always be elected. And in India, the head of the state is the president. And therefore, the president has to be elected. But for someone to contest the election, they need to have certain qualifications. While all the eligible candidates can contest the election, but they have to fulfill these qualifications as it is given in the Constitution. And unless and until they fulfill these qualifications, they will not be able to contest what is called as the presidential election. So for which first we'll have to understand as to what are the qualifications that is prescribed in the Constitution. So let us try to understand that one by one. So first and foremost qualification is that he should be a citizen of India. That's the foremost qualification. What do you understand by citizen of India? Citizenship by virtue of the Constitution, or citizenship by virtue of what is called as a Citizenship Act 1955. So that is what basically you'll have to understand. When I say citizen of India, he should be a citizen of India at the time of contesting the election or at the time of filing the nomination papers to contest election to the office of the president. But however, the most important thing that you have to keep in your mind is here there's no distinction between what is called as a natural born citizen and a naturalized citizen. In fact, under the Constitution of India, there is no such distinction as to who is a natural born and who is a naturalized citizen. Naturalized citizen is basically a concept where a citizen of some other country becoming a citizen of a particular country. Then they may be considered to be what is called as a naturalized citizen. But again, I am repeating it, under the Constitution of India, we do not have such a distinction. For example, some of the countries like United States of America, they do have a concept of what is called as natural born and a naturalized citizen. But in India, we do not have such distinction. In United States of America, only a natural born citizen can contest the election and not a naturalized citizen. So their laws might distinguish as to who is a natural born and naturalized. But in India, there is no such distinction. So that is basically what you'll have to understand. So once he is a citizen, that he is satisfying what is called as a first condition to contest election to the office of the president. And then the person, he or she who wanted to contest election to the office of the president should have completed 35 years of age. That's a minimum age that they should have completed. Citizen of India completed 35 years of age. And then the next condition is he or she should be qualified for election to become a member of Lok Sabha. So many times students have a misunderstanding that to contest election to the office of the president, he or she should be a member of Lok Sabha. No. It is not required he or she should be a member of Lok Sabha. For example, if X is a person who wanted to contest the election, the condition he has to satisfy is he should be a citizen. If he is a citizen, then he should have completed 35 years. Then it is also mandatory under the Constitution, X should have qualification. And what qualification he should have? He should have qualification to contest election to Lok Sabha. That is, he is qualified to contest election to Lok Sabha. He may contest election or he may not contest election. That's a different thing. But he or she should have the qualification to contest election to the Lok Sabha. That is what the Constitution says. Now, for that particular matter, what are the qualifications one should have to contest election to the Lok Sabha? That's the next question. So, unless and until we understand these things, will not be very clear. So, what are the qualifications? So, if you look into Article 84 of the Constitution, that deals with qualifications for someone to contest election to the Lok Sabha or in general to become a member of parliament, including both Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, they should possess these qualifications. So what are the qualifications that is given under Article 84? First, it is saying that they should be a citizen of India. Second, it is saying that they should have attained minimum 25 years of age. 25 years of age in case of Lok Sabha. So this is for Lok Sabha. And minimum 30 years of age in case of what is called as Rajya Sabha. So this is a condition that is given under Article 84 of the Constitution. And then it is also saying they should subscribe to an oath in front of an authorized authority. So before contesting election, they have to subscribe to an oath. Subscribe to an oath in front of an authorized authority. That authorized authority will be determined by the Election Commission of India. Because it is the Election Commission of India which conducts election to both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So when the Constitution says that they have to subscribe to an oath in front of an authorized authority, that authorized authority will be determined by the Election Commission of India. Now I am talking about the conditions to become a member of Lok Sabha. And then the fourth thing is any other qualifications. It is also saying any other qualification as may be determined by a law of parliament. Any other qualification as determined by law made by parliament. So these are all the qualifications one has to possess to become a member of Lok Sabha. So now try to understand. I'll just try to connect it with the president a little later, but just try to understand. So what is the Constitution is saying? Someone to become the president of India, first he should be a citizen of India, should have completed 35 years of age. In addition to that, he should also have the qualification to contest election to Lok Sabha. And what is the qualification to contest election to Lok Sabha? Article 84 is saying he should be a citizen of India. He should have attained 25 years of age. He should subscribe to an oath in front of an authorized authority as determined by the Election Commission of India. Plus, in addition to all those things, any law that is made by the parliament can also prescribe certain conditions. Apart from these three things which is given in the Constitution itself. Accordingly, there is a law which is called as the Representation of People Act, which is a law that is made by the parliament. The Representation of People Act 1951 makes it compulsory that if any person wanted to contest election to the Lok Sabha, he or she should be eligible to vote in the elections to the Lok Sabha. That means, in other words, if someone is not eligible to vote in the Lok Sabha elections, then they cannot contest election to Lok Sabha. That means basically a person should have a voter ID, and voter ID is given to someone who is eligible to vote. So unless and until he or she is himself or herself is having a voter ID, they will not be eligible to contest in the election. But this is not directly given in the constitution. It is said that any other qualifications as may be determined by the law made by the parliament in Article 84. As per this particular provision, the Representation of People Act is made, and that Representation of People Act is providing one condition to contest election to Lok Sabha, that one has to be an elector from any constituency in India, anywhere in India. So it does not matter. So can you put it in the comment box, how many constituencies are there in India? I've already discussed all those things. How many constituencies means how many Lok Sabha constituencies are there in India? So today, presently, the number of Lok Sabha constituencies is 543. So a person who wanted to contest election to the Lok Sabha, he should be an elector from any of the 543 constituencies in India, not necessarily in the state where he wanted to contest the election. Say for example, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has contested election from Kerala. It doesn't mean that Mr. Rahul Gandhi is having a voter ID in the state of Kerala or in the constituency where he is contesting election. But he is having a voter ID somewhere in India. So in any of the 543 constituencies, he is eligible to vote. And therefore, he is eligible to contest. So that is the understanding you should have. So to contest election to Lok Sabha, they have to fulfill all these conditions. Now come to the president. If you are combining these qualifications that of the president, for the president it is saying should be a citizen of India, should have completed 35 years of age. For the Lok Sabha it is saying should be a citizen of India, so there is an overlap. And then for the Lok Sabha it is saying not less than 25 years. But for the president it is 35 years, so the higher age will prevail. So should be a citizen of India, 35 years of age. And then the third thing is subscribe to an oath in front of an authorized authority as determined by the Election Commission of India. That means anyone who wanted to contest the election to the office of the president also should subscribe to an oath. And to whom he has to subscribe to an oath, that will be determined by the Election Commission of India. Subscribe to an oath means, that means when they file the nomination paper, they have to take an oath saying that whatever information that they have filled is true to the best of their knowledge. So this is an oath that they have to take. So for someone who wanted to contest election to the office of the president, he should also subscribe to an oath. And to whom he has to subscribe to an oath, that person will be determined by the Election Commission of India, because the election of the president under the constitution is also done by what is called as Election Commission of India. So the Election Commission of India is going to determine this. So the Election Commission of India will determine to whom he has to subscribe the oath, and that usually is the Secretary General Lok Sabha or the Secretary General Rajya Sabha. If in the first election it is the Secretary General Lok Sabha in front of whom a person has to subscribe to an oath for contesting election to the office of the president, in the next election it will be Secretary General Rajya Sabha. And then in the third election, alternatively, it will be Secretary General Lok Sabha. So who is the Secretary General Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha? The Secretary General Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha is a senior IAS officer, and they are made the Secretary General Lok Sabha and or the Secretary General Rajya Sabha. Their rank is similar to that of Secretary to the Government of India. So normally these officers of this particular rank, they are appointed as what is called as the presiding officers. They are appointed as what is called as the presiding officers, in front of whom the person who wanted to contest election to the office of the president has to file his nomination papers, and therefore he has to take his oath also. So now try to apply all these conditions. Somebody who wanted to contest election to the office of the president should be a citizen of India, should be completed 35 years, and he should be qualified to election to become a member of Lok Sabha. So here, which means he should also subscribe to an oath. So to whom the person who wanted to contest election to the office of the president should subscribe to an oath as determined by the Election Commission of India, which is nothing but either the Secretary General Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. In addition to that, it is also saying any other qualification as may be determined by the law made by the parliament, which says that a person who wanted to contest election to the Lok Sabha should also be an elector from any of the 543 constituencies in India. So that means this will also apply to someone who wanted to contest election to the office of the president. So that means anyone who wanted to contest election to the office of the president should also be an elector from any constituency in India to Lok Sabha. That means basically someone who wanted to contest election to the office of the president should also have a voter ID, and therefore he is eligible to vote in the Lok Sabha elections. So you can say that he should also have what is called as a voter ID, or he is an eligible voter. He is an eligible voter. So all these conditions has to be satisfied. So if you sum up all these things, what are the conditions? First is should be a citizen of India. So now I am summarizing the conditions for someone to become someone to contest election to the election to the office of the president. That means basically what are the qualifications one has to possess to contest election to the office of the president. One, should be a citizen of India, should have completed 35 years of age, should subscribe to an oath in front of an authorized authority as determined by the Election Commission of India. And who will appoint this authorized authority is the Election Commission. And who is usually the person who is appointed by the Election Commission? It is either the Secretary General Lok Sabha or the Secretary General Rajya Sabha. In addition to that, someone who wanted to contest election to the office of the president should also be an eligible voter to the Lok Sabha elections from any of the 543 constituencies in India. So we have satisfied 4 conditions. We have seen 4 conditions. In addition to that, the constitution also says that anyone who wanted to contest election to the office of the president should also not hold what is called as an office of profit. So you should also understand as to what is this office of profit. So the 5th condition is under the constitution, he should also not hold what is an office of profit. So what is this office of profit? Office of profit is nowhere defined in the constitution. The constitution only says anybody who wanted to contest election to the office of the president should not hold on to an office of profit. So what does it mean by an office of profit? Listen to this. The Supreme Court has given a lot of interpretations as to what is this office of profit. And today, as per the judgment of the Supreme Court, what is considered to be an office of profit? Any office. So please listen to me. Any office either under the central government or under the state government or under any of the local government. So basically it should be an office under the government. Any government either under the central government, state government or under the local authorities, by a way of which a salary is receivable, then that would be considered to be what is called as an office of profit. So the salary receivable is very, very important. It is not that the individual is taking a salary, but even if the salary is receivable, that would be considered to be what is called as an office of profit. So to explain that further, I'll explain a particular case, and with that case, you will be able to understand. There was a case which is called as Jaya Bachchan case. So this is a case that you may remember. There's a case which is called as Jaya Bachchan case, and Jaya Bachchan is none other than wife of Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, and she was a member of parliament in the Rajya Sabha. And when she was a member of parliament in the Rajya Sabha, so now don't think about the president, let us go to the members of parliament. Even for the members of parliament, there is a condition in the constitution that if any member of parliament is holding an office of profit, then they are liable to be disqualified. But what is office of profit is same in both the cases. For any member of parliament, I am repeating it again, for any member of parliament, if they hold on to any office of profit, that's a ground for their disqualification. So Jaya Bachchan was a member of parliament in Rajya Sabha. And when she was a member of parliament in Rajya Sabha, not now, way back in 2006. When she was a member of, this case was in 2006. When Jaya Bachchan was a member of parliament in the Rajya Sabha, then she was also appointed as the chairman of Uttar Pradesh Film Development Corporation. So which is an office under the state government of Uttar Pradesh. She is a member of parliament and she is appointed as the chairperson of Uttar Pradesh Film Development Corporation. And therefore, Jaya Bachchan was disqualified. And what is the ground on which she was disqualified to be an MP? She was disqualified because she was holding on to office of profit. Because the Uttar Pradesh Film Development Corporation is an office under the state government of Uttar Pradesh. And therefore, it was considered to be an office of profit. And any member of parliament should not hold on to any office of profit. That's a constitutional provision. And if they hold on to an office of profit, that's a ground for their disqualification. So stating this principle, stating this law, or stating this constitutional provision, Jaya Bachchan was disqualified. Now, after Jaya Bachchan was disqualified, Jaya Bachchan challenges in a court of law. So she went to the court and challenged that her disqualification is invalid. Her disqualification is unconstitutional. Now, why she has challenged it? And in fact, you will understand, I said that what is office of profit is nowhere defined in the constitution. So it is only through the interpretation that is given by the courts we understand as to what is an office of profit. So prior to Jaya Bachchan case, before Jaya Bachchan case, if you see, what is the interpretation that is given by the courts with regard to what is an office of profit? The court said any office either under the center or under the state or under any of the other local authorities by which a salary is received or a profit is received, then that would be considered to be what is called as an office of profit. That means if any individual is occupying any office either under the central government or under the state government or under any of the other local authority, and by way of which they are receiving some profit, they are taking some salary or any of the other profit. Salary is a profit and any other benefits from that particular job is a profit. So then that would be considered to be what is called as office of profit. So Jaya Bachchan was aware of this. So she is a member of parliament. So she might be aware of this. And despite that, how Jaya Bachchan will occupy an office of profit is a question. So despite that, she accepted the chairman of the Uttar Pradesh Film Development Corporation, but she did not take the salary because she know if she takes the salary, she will be liable to be disqualified under the grounds of office of profit. So she carefully accepted that particular post despite being a member of parliament, but she is not taking any salary which was there for that particular post. So therefore she argued in a court of law that it was unconstitutional for me to disqualify as a member of parliament on the grounds of office of profit. I'm not denying the fact that I did not take the salary. Sorry, I am not denying the fact that I occupied that particular office, but by occupying that particular office, I never took a salary, and hence it should not be considered to be an office of profit because till that point of time in Jaya Bachchan case, what is considered to be an office of profit is only if the profit is received. If somebody is taking a profit by occupying an office, which may be salary or any of the other profit, unless and until the profit is taken, received, it is not an office of profit. So Jaya Bachchan was arguing, I did not take the profit. So then the Supreme Court said, okay, we'll change the definition. Probably the Supreme Court has decided they have to disqualify her. So they have changed the definition of what is office of profit in the Jaya Bachchan case. So from the Jaya Bachchan case, the Supreme Court said henceforth, or from your case, what will be office of profit and in the future what will be office of profit is any office either under the center or under the state or under the local government by a way of which the profit is receivable in the first place. If the profit is receivable in the first place, then it is automatically considered to be what is called as an office of profit. It is not necessary you are taking the profit. Maybe Jaya Bachchan does not take the profit, but instead of you, somebody else is appointed in that particular post. The post provides for a profit. The post provides for a salary. And that is more than sufficient for us to conclude that office as an office of profit. And therefore you are liable to be disqualified because the profit was receivable in the first place. Whether you take the profit or not is immaterial for us to see whether that office is an office of profit. If the profit is receivable, that is more than sufficient for us to determine that it is an office of profit, and therefore she was disqualified. So that's a different story. But now I am trying to explain you what is office of profit. Is the definition is the same wherever it is mentioned in the constitution. So then you come to the president now. What is his office of profit? So office of profit means any office either under the central government, state government or any of the other local authority by a way of which a profit is receivable. That is more than sufficient to consider that to be an office of profit. That means the basic understanding you should have is any person who wanted to contest election to the office of the president should not be an employee in the central government, the state government or in any of the other local authority by a way of which a profit is receivable. So they will not be eligible to contest the election. Does it mean that they cannot contest the election? No, they can contest, but they have to resign from their post before contesting the election. So this is basically what you'll have to understand. There are only very few exceptions to this particular office of profit. So what are those exceptions? I'll discuss that. But before going to the exceptions, Now let us try to apply all the conditions. So what are the conditions? So first, for someone to contest election to the office of the president, he should be a citizen of India. Second condition is that he should have completed 35 years of age. Third condition, he should subscribe to an oath in front of an authorized authority. Who will determine that authorized authority? The Election Commission of India. Who is usually that authority? It is the Secretary General Lok Sabha or the Secretary General Rajya Sabha. In addition to that, he should also be an elector from any of the constituency for the Lok Sabha elections. That means out of the 543 constituencies for the Lok Sabha elections, he should have a voter ID in any of these constituencies. In addition to that, he should also he should not hold any office of profit. That is, no office either under the central government or the state government or the other local authorities by way of which the profit is receivable. But the constitution itself provides some exception to this office of profit. So what are those exceptions? Any sitting president, he doesn't have to resign from his office, because a sitting president is drawing salary from the government. He doesn't have to resign from his post. So the exceptions for office of profit is any sitting president, any sitting vice president, the council of ministers, either under the center or under the state, and the governors of any of the state. So if somebody is occupying any of these four posts, I'm just repeating it. The prime minister, sorry, the president, the sitting vice president, the ministers, be it at the central level or at the state level, and then of course the governors of any of the states. So they don't have to resign if they have to contest the election. By occupying their post, they can again contest the election, and that would not be considered to be office of profit, because that exception is given in the constitution itself. So this is basically what you'll have to understand with regard to the qualifications for contesting the election of the president. So it has to be very, very clear in your mind. And apart from all these things, there's one more qualification that is given, but not under the constitution, but under what is called as the President Vice President Elections Act. In fact, the constitution also authorizes the parliament to make a law to further regulate the election of the president and the vice president. As per this particular act, one more condition is given, that for someone to contest election to the office of the president, they should be supported, their candidature should be supported by minimum 50 electors as proposers, and 50 electors are seconders. It is not that you and me can support their candidature. Out of those people who are eligible to vote in the president election, because you and me are not eligible to vote in the president election as long as you are part of the electoral college. I am not part of the electoral college of the president, and for which we'll have to separately understand as to who will be part of the electoral college of the president, which I'll do it in the next lecture. But what the constitution is saying, that someone has to be part of the electoral college to vote in the election of the president. Among those people who are part of the electoral college, 50 members have to propose the name of this particular candidate, and that has to be supported by another 50 members as seconders. But this is not given in the constitution. This is by way of what is called as the President Vice President Election Act. So these are the broad qualifications that you have to probably understand with regard to the election of the president. So what are the qualifications with regard to the election of the president? Let me just repeat it again. So first of all, he should be a citizen of India. He should have completed 35 years of age. And then in addition to that, he should have all the qualification to contest election to the Lok Sabha, which means that he should subscribe to an oath in front of an authorized authority as determined by the Election Commission of India. In this case, that authorized authority is none other than the Secretary General. He should be an elector from any constituency in India with regard to the Lok Sabha elections. And then apart from that, he should also not hold on to any office of profit. And then his candidature should also be supported by 50 electors in the electoral college as proposers and 50 electors as seconders. So only when a candidate fulfills all these conditions, probably he is eligible to contest election to the office of the president. So this is basically what is understanding you should have. But however, what is the exception to the office of profit? A sitting president, a sitting vice president, sitting council of ministers or sitting ministers, be it at the central level or the state level, and the sitting governors in any of the state, they don't have to resign from their office even if it is an office of profit. So this is the basic understanding you should have with regard to the qualifications. Very, very important topic. Easily they can ask you prelims questions from these areas. So this is the basic understanding you should have, including as to what is an office of profit. And try to remember, office of profit is not defined in the constitution. And this is something that has been asked in the examination. So this is what I wanted to discuss. In fact, I wanted to cover more, but I wanted to go a little slow because these are all concepts that you'll have to assimilate. So what I'll do it, I'll stop it here for this particular lecture. In the next lecture, I'll discuss about the conditions to the office of the president and also the electoral college of the president. So before I go to that particular area, which I'll do to the next lecture, can anyone tell me if you know what is the difference between qualifications to the office of the president and conditions to the office of the president, or conditions for the office of the president? Does it look one and the same, or is there any difference between these two words, that is qualifications and conditions for the office of the president? If you know the answer, you can put it in the comment box. So with that, I'll conclude the lecture for today. If you have any questions or any queries related to this particular class or the previous class in general related to preparation, you can reach out to me through my Instagram account or through my Telegram channel. Please do not hesitate reaching out to me. And if you like this series, you can refer to your friends, family members if they are preparing for this examination or any other competitive examination. It is going to be extremely useful to all the students. Okay. So with that, I'll wind up the lecture. Thank you very much. All the best.